Hello and welcome to another live edition of the Nittany Dispatch. I'm John Sauber, Penn State beat writer at the Center Daily Times. She is Audrey Snyder of InsideTheLines.substack.com, where you can go and subscribe to read all of her work. Audrey, it kind of happened again.
You know, John, we just can't get through non-conference play without dissecting the Penn State offense every week. I guess that's just our that's our challenge this non-conference season.
Yeah, and that's our challenge, and the Penn State offense's challenge is stringing together drives and finishing them. This, to me, so last week it felt like kind of everyone was on the same page that, James Franklin didn't think the offense played well, Drew Allar didn't think the offense played well, same with like pretty much up and down anyone you asked. It felt like there was a disconnect this week. Reading social media, fans were upset. I'm not surprised by that. I didn't think the offense played all that well. I thought Drew Allar was off again, but talking to Franklin postgame, he was a little more dismissive, I guess, is maybe the right word for it, about the issues. He attributed it to rhythm and third downs. And Drew Allar said that he thought he played well and didn't think he was overthinking, which we can get into. But yeah, this was, to me, I don't know. I don't know that it was much better than FIU. I know they scored 52 points and people will see that and think we're insane for saying this, but like I did not think the offense played better than they did against FIU.
So, yeah, here's the challenge, right? You had an FCS level opponent, one that you were expected to come out and beat handily. And if you just look at the score at the end of the day, you say, oh, yeah, 52-6, Penn State did what they were supposed to do against Villanova, right? And credit to Penn State for getting there, right? For getting that final score. But this was a game that was 21-0 at the half. And really, when you go back even further, with 7 minutes left in the first half, it was a tight game, right? Like, it was one of those games where Penn State ends up scoring 11 points in the final 7 minutes of the first half, right? Because they have the touchdown to Trevor Pena, they go for 2, they have a Ryan Barker field goal. But the lulls in between, I mean, honestly, John, as I sit here looking out at Beaver Stadium in front of me, offense marches right down the field. And you think, okay, they came out. FIU is in the past. This is the Penn State offense you want to see. Comes out with, I thought, a really convincing opening drive. Then the lulls came back. And they came back. And they came back again. Then you go to the second quarter and you had the Drew Allar regression with a pick that was absolutely brutal. And he should have been picked the second time.
Yeah, a mind-blowing pick when it actually happened, because that's just a throw. He's been starting for 3 years. You cannot make that throw. He had Katron Allen open to dump it off if he wanted to, but even then he's getting tackled right away, so it's not a great decision. And then he compounds it by overthrowing him and leading him straight into a defender who picks it off.
I am with you on the disconnect on the messaging this week. Like last week, everything was, hey, we're overthinking, and Nick's overthinking, Drew's overthinking, and James Franklin says it, the players say it. And I'm with you that you look at it tonight, okay, you see the final score, and it's like, all right, they get out of here 3-0, and what does it matter? Well, it matters that Oregon's coming to town in less than 2 weeks now as the clock ticks.
Yep.
And I'm still not convinced that this offense can get right. I mean, if you have lulls like this against an FCS team, you cannot play like this against number 4 Oregon and expect to win. And I think the players know that, but what I was expecting to hear post-game was more or less like what we got after FIU, which was like, this wasn't our best. We know it wasn't our best. Instead, like, talking with Drew Allar and Nick Singleton, it was like, no, we thought we played great. We weren't overthinking. Like we know there's things to correct and all that, but like, they felt like they played well. And I don't know. To me, it was different. I don't know.
Yeah. And like that FIU team might win 7-8 games this year, which like, okay, maybe you dismiss it a little bit because of that, but this is an FCS school. Like they are just outmanned against Penn State. Villanova should have no chance in any way, shape, or form. And it showed, like you said, in the final score. But at the same time, I just, like I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. Maybe I'll be curious to go back and rewatch this game, early during the bye week and kind of see what I see there. But this still feels like a disjointed offense. It feels like I don't even like. I've seen some people harp on Andy Kotelnicki's play calls, but to me, it's more about Allar. It's him missing opportunities. It's him throwing up contested catches when he has other open receivers. It's him not necessarily seeing the field that well. But he again said that he thought he was, which I don't know. He'll go back and watch the game tape, maybe, and like I said, I'll rewatch the game too. Maybe one of us will change our mind. But I was surprised to hear the level of confidence coming out of this game. And I don't think it's going to pair with what fans saw, with what we saw, with what other media members saw. I think it's very interesting because in 2 weeks we're going to find out essentially who was right, because they're going to have to play Oregon and they have to be so much better than this to even have a chance in that game.
Yeah, and now granted, every game is different, right? Yeah. And Penn State could come out against Oregon and just look like they did this opening drive and somehow string it together that whatever these last 2 weeks especially were just the anomaly, and and maybe that's what it is, right? They get more reps in practice, they're going to put it together. I just can't dismiss especially these last two first halves and those moments with Allar. And today was the perfect example where you get the interception in the third quarter and you're just like, what in the world? Like, that's a throw you cannot make as a senior quarterback. But then you get the Trevor Pena touchdown and you're like, how the hell did he fit that ball into that tight of a window? Like, absolute rocket ball for a touchdown. And you're like, yeah, that's why NFL scouts are so intrigued with this guy. But, oh yeah, he does these other things too. So is it good Drew, bad Drew? Is the answer somewhere in the middle? I don't know. And that's wild to say as we sit here heading into one of the biggest games of his career to date in his senior year.
I think the biggest game, right? Like, and I know someone argue that the Notre Dame game would be bigger, but I think this is going to be, when we look back, like, this is one of the definitive games, this Oregon game coming up. Because, and I wrote about this, you can read it over at centerdaily.com. There is so much on the line for so many people involved, right? Like, they're playing Oregon at home and Ohio State on the road. It makes sense that we would all say that they have a better chance against Oregon at home. And the deck for the first time is kind of stacked in their favor. They have, I would argue, the more talented team. They have two of the best coordinators in the country on offense and defense. And they have the wide receivers that he's been lacking his entire career. And now it's just time. Like, it is just time for him to go out there and rip it like he did when he played Oregon in the Big Ten title game. And I know the numbers weren't crazy impressive then, but I thought that was one of the best games of his career. He was making throws confidently. He was taking chances. Like, I would rather he tried to make those type of keyhole throws that he had on that touchdown to Pena over and over and over again. This is the thing. Dak Prescott gets knocked a lot for this because he throws so many interceptions, because he tries so many ridiculously difficult throws, but he can make them. And Allar's capable of making them. So he went from essentially, like, I feel like sometimes though he's trying to make them when they aren't the right decision, right? Like, it's not like the pass to Khalil Jenkins on the sideline, closest on the west side of the east side of the stadium, that got ruled incomplete. That I still am unsure.
That was bang. Yeah, that was
I know the
really,
ref said
really
he
close.
Stepped out first and
didn't reestablish. But
I don't think he stepped
like
out. I think his toes were in the whole time and his heel never hit the ground on the first hit. But anyways, Allar makes that throw when he has Kyron Hudson wide open in the middle of the field. You just have to lead him upfield and it's a touchdown. He has Luke Reynolds. Reynolds is slowing down. It looked like to maybe sit in the zone, and he's going to be wide open too. So yes, I understand trusting his arm talent because he has immense arm talent. But at the same time, the easy throws that are there that are going to lead to longer gains, you just have to make those throws. And that's where I think the disconnect is with, like, that he said he was seeing the field. I don't know how that can be the decision in that spot if you feel confident about where you're at, because I think the throw just has to be Hudson. It has to be Reynolds. It can't go to Dinkins in that spot. And I question if he's almost gone from, like we talked about this with Singleton, right? Where he went from trying to bounce everything outside to looking for cutbacks. I wonder if Drew is now trying to make too many difficult throws just because of the difficult throw rather than taking the ones that are there. And he's like getting caught in between those things.
Someone brought up in my chat over on Substack during the game, because that's where I'm mostly during the game. I'm working on my gut reactions and chatting with my paid subscribers. And someone brought up the point and they said, do you think Drew Allar has regressed? And I, like, off the rip, after not really going back and watching much right now, like, I did not know how to answer that. Because it's, granted, you're working with new players. It's year 2 in this offense. And it's been a hodgepodge of non-conference opponents, but I fully expected that we would have seen Drew Allar lighten it up in non-conference play, right? And you're saying, okay, this offense is this high-powered juggernaut that we think, because, John, the storyline that rightfully so we all covered the hell out of all offseason was the receiving core. And are these guys good enough? Are they going to be good? These receivers are good. And we saw it today with Trevor Pena. We've seen it with Devontae Ross. We've seen it with Kyron Hudson. Like, I don't have questions about these guys. And, like, sure, we'll have to see how it holds up against better competition and all this. But, like, I put in my gut reactions piece that went live from down on the sideline. I was hitting send as James Franklin wanted another look at that last touchdown.
Just a nightmarish, like, last 7 minutes of this game. It would not end.
It would never end. But my point in the gut reactions was like, okay, like, we still don't really know what to make of this offense. And I think the receivers have passed this non-conference test with flying colors. And, like, that's not what I am concerned about when it comes to, you know, this team getting ready for Oregon. And I am, when I watch Drew Allar now, I'm like, all right, is it good Drew or bad Drew? Like, which one are you going to get? Is it the guy who's making those throws, or is it the guy who is making the ill-advised interception? And I just don't, to me, the swings with him are so dramatic. And again, maybe something drastically changes here in the next 2 weeks, and it's like, all right, everything is fine. But right now, I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, there are 2 points I want to address there. We'll see if I remember them after this. But let's take a quick break to listen to some words from our sponsors. The rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets. Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back. Think you know the game? Put your knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook and turn your picks into big payouts. With live betting, rivalry week, odds boosts, and more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to own every Saturday. And that includes, Audrey, a very big game here in 2 weeks when Penn State plays against Oregon. I will be curious to see how much that line moves, because I think this outcome for Penn State might have an impact on that. But here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DISPATCH. That's code DISPATCH for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
John, it was a hot one today in Beaver Stadium.
It was.
Perfect tailgating weather if you were in the shade, but whether you were in the sun, under a tarp, our friends at Roback have you covered. Perfect lightweight performance apparel. You wear it all the time. I wear it pretty frequently. If you like to stand up, show the people your Roback shorts. I'm not going
to stand up, but I am wearing Roback shorts.
Well, first-time users to Roback can use code TND20 to save 20% off your first order. That's code TND20, as in the Nittany Dispatch 20, to save 20% off your first purchase at Roback. They've got a really cool Penn State collection that's up. I encourage fans to check that out, including some white gear that you might want to add to the collection with the whiteout coming up. But that's over at Roback.com. And now back to fixing the offense.
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to mention here, you mentioned whether or not Drew Allar has regressed. And I think it's a good question. I think the answer is no, but I don't know that he's improved enough, I guess, is the way I would put it. Right?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I don't know that, like, I think he's better than he was when he started his first game at Penn State. I don't know if he's if he's at the level that we thought he would get to, right? I think he is definitely an above average starting quarterback, right? Like, I think the way he takes care of the ball, the capability of throws he can make, there are some negatives, but I think the positives usually are so high that they can outweigh the negatives. But is he, the best quarterback in the Big Ten? Is he a top 10 quarterback in college football even right now?
Best quarterback in Penn State history. Like,
I don't think. Like, and listen, guys can struggle. Arch Manning has been horrible at Texas through 3 weeks. He was bad again today against UTEP. These things happen, and Allar will have plenty of time to make me look like an idiot. He would not be the first, and he will not be the last. But I just think he has not reached the level that I think people wanted him to, and I think the level, frankly, that I thought he would. We mentioned the preseason game we played where it was either he's in the top 5 of the high, or he's invited to New York, or he doesn't make the top 10. Like, it seems.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, he's not going to be in the top 10 now. Like, this is, it is such a far cry from, I think, what we all thought it was going to look like through 3 games. I thought he was going to light it up, or at least be like what he was against Nevada, just hyper efficient. Nothing really matters. He was not efficient this week either. Like, he was 16 of 29 against Villanova, like an FCS defense. It's inexcusable. With
1 pick and a second one that should have been picked.
Yes.
And that's
and there were some drops in there too. But again, some of that is he's just not putting the ball in the right place.
I am with you in that this is not, and this is not necessarily, this isn't his fault, right? There are recruiting rankings that come out that you're a 5-star prospect and he's, his recruitment takes off during COVID, all these things. I just am not sure we're going to see what we thought we were going to see, right? Now, that doesn't mean he can't have a wonderful pro career and some NFL team makes him better, right? That doesn't mean that Penn State is going to suddenly they're out of the title hunt. There's still a lot of talent on this team, and there's a lot of talent on this offense. And if you get good Drew and you get good Drew in a rhythm, then I think you're looking at the guy that we saw last year against Oregon. But the swings to me are where it's just so hard to try and figure out. And you see them going with tempo. And, I was going back listening to the tape from postgame, and Allar said, they felt really good, confident coming out with that first series that they had scripted. And, they like going to tempo when they can. I mean, that was the drive right before the half, which was the Pena touchdown. Yes, right before that Pena touchdown, they go for 2. They had the Barker field goal before that. At that point, they put, within a matter of about 6 minutes, they put up 11 points. And you're like, okay, that's what you thought you'd see. But between that opening drive and then it was like a slog in that struggle fest again. And I am flummoxed, I think is maybe the word, by this offense. And this is a whole other conversation we can get into, but the running backs and the carry distribution today was very lopsided.
It was very strange.
That one has me flummoxed as well.
Yeah, I was going to say word of the day there. But real quick, I want to touch on something you said earlier, and then we'll get to the running
back. Is this
back.
point 2? Yeah, point
yes,
2.
It was about the receivers, and you said about them not being the problem. And I agree wholeheartedly. Maybe they get to the Oregon game and the receivers can't separate, and it's a massive issue again. I haven't heard a peep from anyone about these receivers not being able to get open, about them not being able to win at the catch point. Everything is humming on all cylinders, it seems, with the receiver room. They don't seem to be an issue, even if they don't have that definitive, high-end number 1 Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams type level talent. They're doing what they need to do, and they're doing their job. They have what I would call professional receivers, right? I would think all 3 of those guys have a chance to play on Sundays, even if they're not, first-round picks or what have you. It really comes down to the rest of the offense, and I think part of that right now is the running back situation. I don't know, Audrey. I think it's pretty clear that right now Kaytron Allen is playing way better than Nick Singleton, and is if you were to designate it there's been a lot of 1A and 1B with this room. I think it's closer to 1 and 2 with Allen as 1 and Singleton as 2 than it's ever been. And I just could not believe that Singleton goes out and gets 8 carries on the first drive, 34 yards and finishes with a touchdown. I thought he looked all right. I thought he was a little more decisive today, a little bit better, but there were still some of those situations. I don't know. I do not understand that usage unless it's saving Kaytron Allen. James Franklin said that it was basically happenstance, that they just, Kodo Nicky's not looking at who's out there when he's making the play call, which I do believe, but when it's this drastic, when it's 20 carries to 10, it's a little bit harder to believe, especially when the guy with 10 carries is just flat out outplaying the guy with 20 carries. In fact, by the way, Allen had more rushing yards on half as many carries.
Well, I have the stat sheet in front of me, John. That's why I was going there. Nick Singleton, 20 carries for 84 yards, 2 touchdowns, long run of 14 yards. That's an average of 4.2 yards per carry for Nick Singleton. Katron Allen, 10 carries, 86 yards, long of 18, 1 touchdown. That's an average of 8.6 yards per carry. And it just continues the theme that we've touched on of one of these guys looks better than the other one. And like you said, this is really the first time that we're kind of seeing the distance separate these guys. And James Franklin said that they love their running backs. They believe in both these guys. Talking to Nick Singleton afterward, he said that he felt like this was the first time this season that he wasn't trying to press. He wasn't trying to make a big play. He was playing loose. So he said he felt good, which I was a little bit surprised by that just because of, the numbers and that kind of thing. But I did ask him on something that you and I hit on last week. And I said, is part of the overthinking of last week, is part of that the position coach change and the fact that Jaywan Snyder was here for such a long time, and here comes Stan Drayton, and inevitably, and this is where I default back to my teacher mode, everybody teaches differently. Everybody learns differently. It's natural that Stan Drayton is going to say and hit on things differently than Jaywan Snyder and vice versa. That is just how it works. And Singleton said, yeah, the position coach change is part of that, but he was really quick to add to me. He goes, but this is not an excuse. Like, it's on me to understand that I got to go out there on Saturdays and play loose and just let it rip. And so he said he felt like he did that against Villanova. To me, it felt like they were force-feeding him to try and get Singleton going, right? You want to get that momentum going. I think to a lot of us, it felt like that. But James,
I thought it was glaringly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to say that it's just, I don't know, like James has been so upfront with us about so much this year, right? And I just I have a harder time believing that specific thing, that it was happenstance. And maybe it was in the game as a whole, because really, if you take that first drive out, it's 12-10 in terms of carries, and it makes a lot more sense. Maybe it was just the first drive was an isolated, get Singleton involved, make sure that he's feeling good and in a good place mentally, which obviously is something you want. I don't even think it's a bad thing if they want to do that. There's also an aspect to coaches are going to say things rightfully, I think, to protect players too, and to try and keep them in a good place mentally. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Katron Allen has looked flat out better. And it's tough though, because the level of competition is so bad. It's okay, are we sure? Are we sure that they've both, you know what I mean? That this is what it's going to look like? I don't know. And so much of these first 3 weeks is, I don't know. You just didn't think it would be, I don't know, because the team is playing bad or the offense is playing bad. We thought it would be, I don't know, because it's they're playing so well, but who cares? It's FIU or Villanova or Nevada. Not, I don't know, because they're struggling against these teams that they should be demolishing. And to be clear, they have demolished them. It's also just not looking like the type of play you'd expect from a team that's the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, and I think, again, your AP voters are going to look at the final score, and they're going to say, oh, yeah, sure, Penn State took care of business. That's fine. They probably stay ranked number 2. Now, to their credit, again, there was not, and given the level of competition, the sky would have been falling had they lost one of these 3 games. I feel good about the receiving core. I feel good about the tight ends. I feel good about Katron Allen. I still think there is that moment for Nick Singleton, right? That breakaway moment. The guy is explosive. I think we're going to see it. I still think Drew Allar is streaky, and you're going to ride the hot streaks. You're going to get some of these plays that you're like, what's going on? I just think that's non-conference play has probably shown us that's who he is. And that's okay, but I think you have to find ways to maximize all these other parts of this offense. And I believe we'll probably hear from Andy Kotelnicki this week, which I think that's going to be fascinating because we haven't heard from him since the season started. And how does he evaluate this offense? How does he evaluate his quarterback? How does he evaluate the run game? Gosh, I have a million questions already. And I do think,
well, you'll get one.
I'll get one. Yes. I'll already be raising my hand on the Zoom, trying to clog up the line. But Luke Reynolds, I think, again, is the real deal, which if you remember, John, he was my pick 1A, 1B. I had denied Dennis Sutton and Luke Reynolds for my players of the game. Man, he looks so good. I think they have something there. They've known for a long time they have something there. And I think he is someone who can help this offense when you see just the way he runs free. And I think you have to just figure out how. And part of this, too, the whole offense disjointed out of rhythm conversation, it's third downs, right? That's the other part. James Franklin hit on it. I believe today, I should know this because I had it circled earlier. On third and fourth downs combined, Penn State was 6 of 12. John, math guy, you know how many percent that is?
That's 50%.
50%, baby, half of it.
Job.
That's not good, and
No.
that's
Here's the thing,
concerning.
I always get hung up in the third down conversation because really a lot of third down success is about first and second down success. And James actually touched on this, I think it was last week, and I'm surprised he hasn't leaned more into this because it is generally true. And like when you look at like the way people look at football analytically now with the data, like it's more about first and second down. And it's like the best offenses never get to third down. Right, like they convert on moving. First and second down, and then you're ahead of the sticks, and like that's where like stats like success rate come into play. Where essentially on first down, a 6-yard gain is not as impressive as a 6-yard gain on 3rd and 5. Right, like, but I think that he's right. They need to be better on third down. I also think they just need to be like moving the chains more on first and second down. So when you say that, they just need to be better on first, second, and third down. Unfortunately, that's most of the downs. And like they're not always going to go for it on fourth down. So you're not even going to get the extra one. And so I just think like he's right. They need to get into a rhythm. I'm hesitant to explicitly say that it's just the third down thing. I think they just have to convert first downs more. And it's very simple. And all teams are going to need to do that all the time. But that's what it comes down to. They're just not converting enough first downs. They're not, when they get into enemy territory, they're not converting as much. They're struggling when they get in close. It's been messy for the entire offense. But I know we've been on the offense for a while. Unless you have something else to say, I think we can pivot to the one side of the ball that looks.
I'm good, and I think we'll reconvene during the bye week because to be clear, it's not an off week. James Franklin mentioned that as well. But yeah, I mean. Also,
real quick, a programming note. Unlikely we're live on Tuesday like usual, just because we have to figure out our schedule with when Penn State makes their whoever they're making available. We're anticipating that'll be potentially Tuesday, and if it is, I would guess we'll be back live Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, the defense is substantially better right now than this offense.
Yeah, and James Franklin said post-game that he felt like this was the first time this defense was really flying around and playing fast. And that's what you want. That's a good sign, right? Heading into Oregon, that these guys have been absolutely dominant. It was downright hilarious that touchdown at the end of the game, James Franklin was like, I want this reviewed. Like, they're very, very proud of trying to preserve a shutout, as they should be. This defense looks really good. I thought Tony Rojas, he had 2 sacks within, I believe there were like 13 minutes left in the second quarter, and he already had 2 sacks. Like, he's been by far their most disruptive linebacker. I like what they're getting there. The defensive ends we've touched on a lot. These guys continue to be really good. Chaz Coleman actually almost blocked a punt today as well.
Yes.
And wisely, as he was coming in, you could see him. He's getting close to the punter, and he just smartly puts his hands up, backs away, doesn't run into him. Very heady play from the true freshman defensive end. But yeah, I didn't sense that there were any communication issues from the crowd today. And gosh, I'm going to be this person, aren't I? Well, John, I said crowd, and you know how my mind works, right? I crowd and I say things. Do you know what the announced attendance was for today, John?
I do. It was a lie. Whatever it was a lie.
It was announced as 109,516 people.
No.
Now, I am not here to discredit anyone from leaving this game early against an FCS opponent. There was a great crowd here today. Great people in the lots, tailgating. I had a chance. I went to a tailgate today, which never happens, right? So I went to a tailgate. Always really fun when you're the sober person at the tailgate, which is how it works on game days. And so, the lots, grills smelled great today. It was a beautiful day. Again, still a really huge crowd here, a crowd you should be proud of. How the hell did they come up with 109 in a stadium where the capacity is 106? I do not know. Like, I know they count
Yeah.
everybody in the building.
Like, we count and like everything like that.
Yeah.
But even then, like, there were sections partially empty. Like, come on. Like, we don't have to do
For
this.
sure. Like, so what are you going to do for the whiteout? Are you just going to say, oh, there's 112? Like, are we
Yes.
just making up numbers now? Like, I don't know.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to send some texts out about that one. Because I just, again, like, preserve what you have. You have something really special. You had probably more than 100,000 people here, and it's awesome, and you're playing an FCS opponent. Cool. Like, can't we just be happy with that? Why do we have to keep juicing up the numbers to, like, 109? And I'm just literally sitting there, like, this is way above capacity, and I've got a lot of questions on that. As you can tell, this really fired me up. I don't know why, but
yes, real quickly on the defense, I thought it was awesome. I think it is awesome. I think they're going to give Oregon a hard time, and that's why, like, I'm hesitant to switch my pick away from Penn State, because I think that the Oregon offense is really good. I think the Penn State defense might be even better. There were two quick notes in the live chat. We appreciate everyone being in the live chat that I wanted to touch on before we get out of here. First, from Greg, Drew feels like he's hit his ceiling as a college QB, continues to see the same great throws and same head-scratching misses and mistakes. I think that's a really good way to put it, right? Like, I think this is kind of where we are all at with the Drew Allar experience, that this just kind of, like, it's almost an acceptance that what we've seen is kind of it, right? That maybe there isn't more, maybe that there isn't this next level to take it to, that it's going to oscillate between good and bad pretty frequently, and the good is going to be really, really good, as good as anybody in the country, and the bad is going to have you questioning how he's a starting quarterback in college football. And the other one from Jesse is Drew Allar playing himself out of first overall pick consideration without putting up video game stats against FCS teams. I think he might be playing himself out of first round consideration. Mm-hmm. Like, this is it's been really bad. I would be curious. I try to check in with NFL teams throughout the year. I haven't yet, because it's like, what are they going to say about these 3 games? It's like, well, now they might have something to say, and I'll be curious to hear their thoughts.
And I just, again, all it takes is one team to fall in love with a guy, and you see the big arm, you see the Trevor Pena throw, and you say, that's it, that's the guy. We can fix him.
That throw is so absurd. Like someone, like another beat writer called it a hospital ball. I was like, no, he led him too much. Like, it was not a hospital ball.
Yeah.
Like, he threw it so hard that the defender coming over couldn't even get there. It was unbelievable.
And Trevor Pena, I asked him about the play, and he said they ran it earlier in the game, and they came over to the sideline and said, you know what, we have something there. We're going to go back to it.
Yep.
And so, again, you have the receivers now. You have the quarterback in spurts, in moments. Can you put this whole thing together? And, John, if you lose at home against Oregon,
I think it depends on what it looks like.
Right. If it's close, that gives you hope against. I mean, listen, I don't envision
it being the defense's fault. That's the thing.
Here's what I'm going to say, and maybe I'm wrong. Again, I picked Penn State to beat Oregon way back. I'm consistent with these things. I don't see this Penn State team getting blown out because the defense is too good. I worry about the offense, and can they get it going, right? Maybe it's something where you need the defense, special teams, right? How much have we heard this year about special teams being an improvement, finding ways to win games? Maybe that's how you have to manufacture something if this offense just sputters again. But we've got lots of time to get to that. Yes. Penn State went 1-0 this week, went 3-0 in non-conference play. They've given us plenty to talk about. Good and not so great. But at the end of the day, John, we're going to find out in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, they didn't have to find out with a loss so far. And we will see how it goes as my contacts continue to dry out as we sit here. I think hour 10.
I thought you were crying. I thought
no, it's just unbelievably dry contacts right now. But we appreciate everyone that is tuned in live as always, and everyone who's listening after the fact on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget to leave those 5-star ratings and reviews there if you're watching on YouTube, either live or after the fact.
See if I can show them the stadium. See?
Yeah, what you don't see is that I'm just to the left there. That Audrey is. Yeah, that's
there
right there.
There's John. Look at that nice view there. I love that. So
yes. Cool. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button down below if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We always appreciate that. You can find all of Audrey's writing at insidethelines.substack.com. You can find her on Twitter at AudSnyder4. You can find her on Blue Sky if you search Audrey Snyder. You can find me on Twitter at John Sauber and on Blue Sky if you search John Sauber. And all of my writings at centerdaily.com. We will be back at some point this week live to talk about what we've heard from whoever we talked to this week. Until then, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.